amazing user experiences while driving impact. Deborah Dada. Deborah is a product designer and experienced panel moderator who enjoys creating great digital experiences, especially in fintech and other new technologies. She has been recognized as a UK global talent and she is very passionate about corporate events. Deborah is building her presence in the UK event space by creating platforms like
Oh, hi,
GDG
Abby.
Birmingham. Yes, please.
Hi, Abby.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, could you please share your video? I would love to see who is talking, especially from our YouTube viewers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would love to spotlight you. Thank you.
Let me see if
Awesome.
I
Thank you so
can.
much.
Um, yeah. Are we good?
Yes, you are. Please proceed.
But I will forgive you for stopping my on-air personality flows. I feel like I was doing a great job. Back to Deborah Dada's bio. Deborah has spoken well. She has spoken at well-known tech events such as Design System Day in the UK, Cam Digital, Birmingham Tech Week, Algorithm Conference, amongst others. She's known for leading thoughtful and lively discussions that help people grow in tech careers on a YouTube series called The Talent Couch. And Deborah also spent time mentoring others, helping young people find their paths in tech. Victor Onazi. Victor is a seasoned product designer with over 5 years of experience designing impactful digital products across fintech and tech, Web3 and LTech, with a foundation in front-end engineering. Victor brings a technical and user-centered approach to product design. He currently works as a product designer at Clear Channel Europe, which is one of UK's leading advertising companies. Prior to this, Victor was part of the design team at Number. Some of us probably know Number here in Nigeria. Number is one of the topmost fintech companies where he helped build tools that enable businesses to accept and manage payments seamlessly. Victor has led and contributed to products that serve over 10 million users globally. Today, beyond his professional work, he's passionate about design mentorship and actively supports emerging designer through platforms like ADP List and Empower Our Community. All right, that's about it for our amazing guest. And yeah, back to our topic today. Um, my check, Telma, Deborah, Dada. I think it's time to hear our voice. But I think I will definitely start the conversation. And based on what I've learned about you guys, because yeah, I definitely did my research, I would direct the questions to, whoever I feel should or is the right or appropriate person to answer the question. So yeah, back again to our topic, positioning for global opportunities as a designer. First off, I'd like to answer the question, who is a designer, right? And in my own thinking or belief, I would generally say everyone is a designer, and that's because I mean I also have this belief that God Himself is the ultimate designer, and like some of us believe that there's some reflection of God within us humans. So I also believe that there are certain elements of design that God actually sort of puts in everyone. Um, and what do I mean by this? Oftentimes, you would see people have conversations like, "Oh, when I got my apartment, right, I just left my partner to do the, interior design work." And this partner is not like a professional interior designer, but because there are certain things you've seen and you trust that person's judgment, you just felt like, they are the best person for the job. And in my career, starting designing non-professionally, say far back as 2011. This was a time whereby, there was people who professionally attached themselves as designers. There were just like a handful of them, right? And I feel like I have been privileged to watch, things change from that era to now, where you now realize that almost everywhere you look, there are designers there, right? And this is because I feel like people have now realized that there is this inborn ability to put things in order. and they just decided that one day, you know what, I want to make a living out of this. And those are the set of people that I feel we're talking about today. The people who have now decided that professionally they want to do this thing beyond just, arranging their room, picking the right outfit for the day, deciding the nicest or the appropriate paints, for their room. They now say, you know what, I want to professionally make a living out of this. And these are the kind of people we're talking to. So if you're in the house, shout out to you. If you are a product designer, a brand designer, a 3D designer, interior designer, a creative designer, as long as you're designing one thing or the other, right? I think I would like to say you're in the right place. But yeah, back to the story I was saying, right? Between 2011 and now, between seeing a handful of designers and looking almost everywhere, and it's almost as if there's a designer everywhere. So the first thing I would like us to talk about, my panelists, is in the world of today, now that we have, the design profession, how there people are aware there's so many designers. How can a designer then stand out, in such situation? Because it now appears that we moved from little to no talent to you now have a whole lot of talent. So we could as well say that it's a crowded market out there. So how does one stand out, judging by these facts that, as designers, you would need to do one or two things to make sure that you stand out. So I would like to direct this question to Telma to handle this one.
Thank you, Habib. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I think that there are a couple of things that people could do to stand out in the market. I'll touch a bit on different types of designers and then narrow down into specifically product designers in the industry. So for different types of designers, you would have to obviously find a niche and find a specific niche, a specific industry that you want to continue to function in, and then build a vast portfolio. So it doesn't necessarily mean like it has to be like clients work. You can decide to invest in yourself by buying tools, buying equipment, and crafting your own design. So if you're a designer, if you're a furniture maker, if you're any type of designer, these are ways that you can explore and build out like authentic portfolios and speak highly of yourself as well. Now narrowing it down into like product designers in the market that we are in, like we know what AI is doing, and we can see that we've been hearing that AI is taking over design jobs. The truth is, I do believe that AI is going to take over a couple of roles in design. So to be able to stand out and also to not be one of the roles that design eventually takes over, one thing that you could do is to learn a couple of additional skills into your current skill set. So this could mean if you just do visual design, if you just do UX, you could begin to look at doing motion design, illustrating. If you're good at design systems, you could take a stab at learning how to code. If you're good at strategic thinking, business thinking, you could take a stab at becoming a PM and being able to take on that role within the company. That way, you are not just streamlining yourself, you become like more or less a generalist in the team where you're very hands-on, you're able to go deep into the design, you're also able to either speak about the business or even implement your design using no-code tools. Another thing you could do is to be able to, okay, spotlighting my video is weird, but the other thing you could do is to find a specialized industry. So this could vary across different things. So one, you could decide to go into, if you have a historical experience working in fintech, that should be the industry that you're looking into. That should be the industry that you are optimizing, be aware of what is happening in that industry, be up to date as to the improvements, the updates, the things that AI can do in that industry. Just keep yourself abreast. Don't be behind. Always be up to date. The third thing is to develop a strong portfolio of work. So this does not just mean building like anyhow portfolio. It means actually telling a story with your portfolio. Like start from the journey of who you are, what you have done, and what you're aiming to do, and then build up from there to say these are the things that I've worked on. This was my role in this company. This was my role in this problem. I worked alongside these people. This was the problem. This was the solution. This was the impact. And then you can highlight your process, and also like um, your key learnings. The last point I have is to know how to sell yourself. I think that sometimes as designers, we fall short in this angle of being able to go into communities as we network, be able to actually sell ourselves properly. Leveraging when you go into networking events, when you go into networking communities like Treford, for instance, you need to know how to sell what you do, what you have done. Even in interviews, for instance, when you go on calls with stakeholders, you need to be able to communicate what you have achieved. So being able to sell yourself, being a salesperson is not just the job of like the sales department is something that designers should learn and adopt in today's world so that you're able to stand out. You don't just have the tactical skills, you have the strategic skills, you have the sales skills, you understand the industry that you're working in, you think in systems, you're able to connect the dots properly. That automatically there are less than 100% of designers who actually do these things. So you need to be able to, it's many things, but that's why like being a journalist just summarizes it. Yeah.
All right, that was really packed, Stelma. I was taking notes. So first off, I would like to repeat some of the things I had. It would be nice, as designers, a way to stand out before you even find your ground is to first of all pick a niche. Invest in tools that would help you in creating a portfolio, right? And you further went down into talking about how it is also important being a generalist designer in the sense that you can learn additional skills such as illustrating, coding, business thinking. You also talked about picking an industry and optimizing. So if you feel like you have a strong need for designing for fintech, you could just stick to that and make sure that you are well um, um, informed within that industry. Also, you went back to developing a strong portfolio and learn to sell yourself, basically talking about networking. But speaking about tools, right? When you say invest in tools, so what are the most known tools and platform every modern designer should be familiar with? And I would need Deborah, I think this is something you can do justice to. I'm talking about the tools for designers, right? And platforms. What are the most known tools and platforms that you feel like every modern designer should be familiar with?
Right. Good morning. So yeah, of course, all designers we have been blessed with the very versatile Figma to do all of our tools. But the very beautiful thing these days is that Figma has then given us so much to work with that whatever part of design you do find yourself, marketing, product, graphics, you tend to see how you can actually use Figma to the best of your knowledge or to the best of the outcome that you want it to give you. So I think, yeah, that's one tool that every modern day designer should be able to use. That goes a long way to setting you apart. But then now everyone knows Figma, and some people are genuinely beasts on Figma. Sadly, I'm not one of those people. So other things that because I've always found myself in like environments where they're like very strict and strict design systems, design rules within the organization. So you really cannot flex your muscles that much. So I think other ways a designer can actually other tools they can use is to explore tools around user experience and talking about things like what tools do you use for interviews? What tools do you use for documentations of your UX processes? How are you able to like use something like FigJam or Miro to put all of your findings during UX research together. I think that's also something, a very huge skill that would help a modern day designer actually stand out. So there other tools are, aside Figma, like I said, there is Miro, there is, very funny enough, documentation tools as well. There's so much that you can do with Notion that people barely talk about, and there are a lot of organizations that are now doing using Notion as their documentation tool, and it makes a lot of difference. You can actually use these tools. I remember joining my organization and they use Notion, and the fact that I didn't have to go through like the 1 week training they used to teach people Notion was something that really set me apart because I already did use Notion. So I think that's another tool that people could use. So as designers, we really should not limit ourselves to Figma. Figma is beautiful, and the truth is, the more Figma is alive, they've made us realize that every day there's going to be an update, and you actually need to get yourself on that grind and try to learn it and keep up. But other tools that you must pick are like documentation tools, UX tools for something like Miro. Yeah, I think basically that would be it for me. I don't know if I'm missing out on anyone, but yeah, these are the ones on top of my head at the moment.
I mean, I think you've done wonderfully well. Essentially, what you're trying to say is, I mean, all hail Figma, the most popular, the most, I don't know, the one with the most PR. But what you're basically trying to say is, we shouldn't get lost in all of that, is it craze or buzzwords going around? There are actually other things outside Figma that people should pay attention to. Talking about tools for interviews, I mean, maybe they are working on that at Figma, but I know if you want to do something like that, you probably want to, need to come out of Figma. You talked about using, tools like Miro. You mentioned it would be nice to know your way around tools, and you use an example of how learning Notion saved you some onboarding time, at a particular workplace. And I think, yeah, that's really a good one. And I see somebody clapping also in the chat. I think they totally agree with you. So switching up a bit and over to you, Victor, now. What would you say are some of the misconceptions people have about, design careers? And yeah, maybe I know there are people who don't get the picture and maybe they make up things, and there are people who, they actually understand what design is all about, but they still have some misconceptions. But what are the common ones that, you've heard about?
Yeah, thanks, Abib. Hi everyone. I think it's still morning. So yeah, good morning everyone. So that's a great question, really. Uh, there are a lot, to be very honest. There are so many. But I'll just pick like some of my highlights, things that I've basically experienced as a designer over the couple of years now. So one of the first thing is design is easy. So let me expatiate on that, right? So people think design is a very quick way to jump into design and you start making it easily, right? Uh, because people try to see it as an alternative way to coding. Like if you're a developer now, rather than having to pick in coding, you just say, oh, I can't pick in coding, it's stressing me out. I feel like design is a way out, is a way option, is way easy for me to just go about it. So I feel that is a very weird misconception, right? So design is not easy, design is hard. So if you're not hearing from anyone, you're hearing from Victor today. Design is hard. And thinking about design, it's not just about pushing pixel, it's way beyond that. It's way, way beyond that. I love the fact that Thelma did mention about having to sell yourself to stakeholders. I mean, that particular point, you're a salesman as a designer. You must be able to sell your idea to someone. You must be able to make sure this person understand exactly who you are and understand exactly, okay, this idea, this is what I'm actually driving at or not. So that's one I would love to mention. The other bit I would love to mention, I think I've already gotten into it a little bit, is uh design is not about just making it beautiful. It's way beyond that. It's not about making things fine, but it's about making things usable. So just to give more context of that is, so an app can be so nice, but the experience, not just product design. So I'm talking from a product design perspective now, right? So not because I'm a product designer. So it's beyond just making design just really nice. It's about making it much usable. How well do the user understand or navigate through certain section of your application? So it's something that people try to don't understand, right? People just try to get the fact that, oh, if I have a good design, I mean, I could be hired or I could just get a job, whatever I need to do. So it's way beyond that. It's more detailed than that, and people should really get to understand that as well. So moving to the last point is, I think I'm drawing for what Deborah said again, which is the tool. Design is not about just using Figma. So design is not about Figma. Figma is, I wouldn't say it's not even up to 50% of design, really. I mean, it's great if you know how to use Figma. I'm not saying you should not know how to use it, but Figma is just a tool. Even before Figma came, there was Adobe Illustrator. I know a couple of folks that use Photoshop to even design websites or use Photoshop to do UI designs. It's and again, those set of people that use Photoshop eventually moved to Figma, right? So it's just way beyond you knowing how to use the tool. So don't have that perception that, oh, I know Figma. I'm a very good designer. I mean, great, you're a good designer. You can be a good designer, definitely. But I don't want you to have that mindset that, oh, it's just Figma. Once I know Figma, I'm good. And no, it's not that. It's something that you still have to grind more and you still have to do other things as well. So yeah, those are like the major 3 points. I think I would love to add one more as well. I think this one is very common, and I think this is something that has been going through Twitter. I mean, currently known as X. I mean, designers should code or designers should not know how to code. So, so again, I was a front-end developer, but I switched into product design full time because I just found joy in product design. So designers should code or should not code. I'm not saying that if you can have time to pick up the skills, that's fine. But don't see it like as a mandatory thing that you have to do, right? I know you because obviously now we have AI doing all this stuff. If it's a skills that you can pick it up, that's fine. But don't let it to box you that, oh, I must know how to code before I become a very good designer, right? So these were like just free stuff like, oh, I think some misconception people get to have, right? Hope that was helpful anyways. So yeah.
All right. Thank you, Victor. I'm just going to stay clear of your last point because I'm not about to start a war on here. But I like the fact that one of the first things you mentioned, or the misconception you said, that has come to your attention is that people thinking design is easy, right? And you also mentioned the fact that it's not always about, beauty or how fine it is, but, is it usable? Essentially, function over form. It should be, all about is this thing making impact? Are people able to use it? Then maybe aesthetics can come later. And then you also sort of re-emphasize something Deborah mentioned about it's not all about Figma, there are so many things out there that could be done. I think one of those things is actually using data to inform your design decisions, right? And that takes me slightly to, back to Telma. How can non-technical designers, I mean, these are designers who don't necessarily code, right? How can they make the most out of data? How do they embrace that reality that it's not just about shifting pixel, right? I need to do usability interviews. I need to do, user personas, and I need to, take all of these data points and ensure that they contribute into the design decisions they're making. So how can non-technical designers, make the most of data to improve their work?
Yeah. Um, Okay. So one major way you have to, one key step is, first of all, you have to understand the different uh the key UX metrics. Like you have to understand not just your users, but also like the metrics that you're trying to track. So when a feature is launched, when you're trying to go speak to users, you know what you're trying to drive at. Are you trying to understand why the success rate, quote and unquote, is low, or why users are dropping off at certain points? So you need to be able to understand um, you need to be able to understand the data and also be able to understand the various UX metrics, understand your users and how they use your application. So, for instance, you can, when let's say you want to design a new application or a new tool or a new flow within the application, you need to first of all ask and try to understand why that feature or why that problem currently exists. And then the second thing is look at the data. What is the data saying? So are users dropping off? If you look at like conversion funnel, for instance, at what point do users drop off in a website? At what point do users drop off in the onboarding flow? And then when you propose a solution, you're able to say, okay, this solution is based off of this problem that I noticed, this problem that you highlighted, the drop off rate is actually here. So I think the solution should be here. So you don't just automatically go into Figma once a problem is brought to you. You try to understand that. And when you understand the data, for instance, it's able to guide you as you design. So I had this case a while ago where we recently integrated an analytics tool to a section of our application, and I was supposed to redesign just the navigation. To redesign that, it meant that we needed to hide some items and show some items. So what I did was to look at the data, which are the most frequently used actions within that navigation, and then we highlight those ones and then hide the rest. We are not hiding the rest because we think we should hide it or it's the design thing to do. We are hiding them because they have the lowest number of usage. And then at that point, I proposed that if we have some time, we can dig deeper into why users do not frequently use these features, because we designed them and we expected that users should frequently use them. So in that case, like when a stakeholder comes to me, I'm able to say, oh, these are the critical features users use. These are the critical flows that users would use within the application. You're able to defend your design decisions. You're able to defend um, why you went with a particular solution as opposed to the other. This also ties into like not just UX metrics, but also like when you do usability testing, when you do any form of user research at this point, you're able to say, when I spoke to users, this is how the workflow for a particular user is. And because of that, I decided to go with this flow instead of flow two. And when sometimes when you're presenting your designs, stakeholders will have bright ideas. Their ideas are a lot, and it could stem from just them either having something, wanting to say something, or actually having significant something to contribute, something that they need to contribute. So you need to be able to say that's a good idea, but when I spoke to users, it doesn't make sense to do it this way, even though it works for computer A or computer B. So these are the different ways you can leverage data to communicate your design, to guide your design decisions, to present your work and get buy-in on your solution.
Right. Very well. Well said, Figma. I'll just touch on a few things, but I feel like if I keep touching on, everything each person says, we might not be able to move fast. But part of what you said is that we need to make sure we understand UX metrics as product designers. Basically understanding what the objectives are, understanding the users, the why, and try to seek to know the reason why the problem exists. And maybe in finding that reason, you would find your solution there. And the funny thing with data is, or research is, the fact that you also do the research doesn't give you the guarantee, right? But it's worse when you don't do it at all. So it's just like taking a light into the tunnel. You're better rough compared to the person, without light within a dark tunnel. So let's switch the conversation up a bit to visa. I know a lot of people are so much interested about this section. Back to Deborah. Is it possible for designers to land a global talent visa, first of all?
No.
I mean,
Okay, I'm joking.
I
How
don't
did
mean
you believe me?
to. All
All
right,
right,
sure.
that's of course, yes, of course, yes. Would you
All
like
right,
me to go
so
ahead?
yeah, I mean, you probably want to speak from your experience at this point, um, if you say yes, I'm sure people also know, there are opportunities out there, right? Maybe if you speak about yours, I mean, they consider you as a living testimony that something like that works, right? So beyond it being possible, how did it affect you? And maybe somebody else, maybe Victor as well, we talk about at what stage, within a designer's career, can they attempt, a global talent visa? But first, Deborah, we know it is possible, but maybe you want to narrow it down to your experience so people understand that, it's not just cha. You are sharing workings, basically.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely possible for a designer, a product designer, to access global talent, to land global talent visa. And I particularly mentioned global product designer because um, based on the routes that I know that product designers are. Sorry, let me take it back. The entire concept of global talent visa is that if you have worked in digital technology or a product-led company, for example, they are talking about things like Number is product led, Kuda is product led. But if you are talking about companies that are like consulting, like a studio or an agency, it really doesn't fly for those use cases. But it flies for use cases that are product-led companies and digital technology overall. So yeah, and particularly there are a list of people that fit into that, and that's where UX, particularly they call it UX and UI designers. Those are people that have access to it. At the moment, based on the last information that I have, it's not really possible for graphics designers. However, graphics designers are able to apply under people that call themselves product marketing managers. So it means that you have to switch things up a bit. That you're more than a graphic designer, but you're working towards marketing. So that's how graphic designers have applied based on my own knowledge. Please, what I'm saying is based on my knowledge. Thank you. It possibly might have worked for other people in different ways because the entire idea of global talent is that you tell a good story. So if as a graphic designer, you tell a good story and they approve you, I'm super glad for you. But I'm just talking based on the experience I've had with my own application and with my group of friends application. So yeah, applicable to product designers. And here, it just does not involve your work as a product designer alone. It involves every other thing that you have done with your career, within your career. It involves things like speaking engagements. It involves things like mentorship. Who have you mentored? Who have you impacted? So basically, it's just your work around impacting people and impacting products as well. And yeah, Victor would definitely talk about the part where you said, oh, at what point should you apply for it? But let's just bear in mind that global talent visa is called exceptional visa. So it means that how can you prove as a person that of all the designers in Nigeria, it's me you people should choose. So it's just like you're placing a case forward to tell them that, hi guys, I'm exceptional. This is what I have to prove for it. And they can tell you, okay, based on what you have seen from designers in Nigeria, you're not exceptional enough. Or based on, so it's like you're placing your case, you're arguing that. So I'll give an example. Oh my God, I'm getting to a rabbit hole. I'll give an example. So part of the evidences is salary, like how much do you earn? So, and I know somebody in the UK that applied. He earns about, I think, £60,000 per annum, and they rejected him that, oh, your salary is not exceptional enough. However, myself, I applied with a 600k salary in Nigeria, and I got it because how I told the story was I went to Glassdoor and I said, okay, the average designer in Nigeria earns 400k. I earned 600k, 200 20% or 30% above this person. Is that exceptional enough? And then they accept. So it's how you tell the story. It's not necessarily slapping money in their face or slapping your achievements in their face. So let's see Global Talent Visa as a very good storytelling. How do you convince somebody to give you something? So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I was just about dropping in the chat that for context, Deborah is actually talking about the UK Global Talent Visa because let's not mix it up. There are other talent visas which also will be getting to as we go. But Victor, maybe you quickly want to talk about so I understand in your case and Deborah's case, it is the UK Global Talent. So maybe we need to make those tags so people don't mix things up because I understand the US have their own talent visa. I think I'm aware Canada, Australia, and some other countries. So to specify, speaking about the UK Global Talent Visa, Victor, at what stage in a designer's career can one qualify or attempt to apply for it?
Yeah, thanks, Habib. I love Deborah's energy, right?
Mhm.
Because it felt like was real reality, right? So, but shout out to you, Deborah, and thanks for the support during my time of application. A friend, so giving you shout outs. So I'm just saying I'm part of a group of friends that she's talking of really. So yeah. But yeah, in terms of this global talent stuff, firstly, I would just say that you have to have professional experience, at least 3 to 10 years. And the three years should be like, for my perspective, 3 years or roughly two. I would just say 3 years really, three to above professional experience. When I mean professional, I mean like you might have worked in an industry like Deborah said, product-led organization. So I think that's one thing that you should bear in mind. You must have, it might be 2 years and you might get it right, but I feel 3 years and above is something really will give you a chance. That's the first thing you should bear in mind. So the second thing is you want to be able to show impact that you must have done certain things. And when I mean impact, so I'll just be speaking from my perspective, right? I worked at Number for about 2.5 years. So during my time at Number, because Number was part of my evidence that I used, during my time at Number, I did a few lot of contribution, quite a lot anyways, because I moved from different things, from loan team to saving team to credit team, XYZ and all. And during my time, I was able to track record of impact I actually made. One of the major impacts I did at Number was contributing to like the new design system, right? And how did I show that that design system affected the business? Again, it still boils down to storytelling when it comes to writing your evidence. But again, everything still drive about impact. Impact. How impactful was it? Like how have you given impact beyond your peers, beyond people? So if you can know that, oh, I've done impactful stuff, I've impacted different people, company, or probably you've done a bunch of other things, I've impacted people, fine, you're good to go. And I think that's when you should know, okay, I think I'm on the right track for this. The other P I would love to speak on is recognition. How well do people know you? Again, don't get me wrong, some people might not be really popular out there, but they can still get the global talent, right? But again, just to give you a better chance, I believe that you should be recognized beyond just your normal space and beyond just your work environment. Let's not just be work that surrounds you. And let people recognize you for public speaking. Let people recognize you that, oh, Victor, you do speak, you spoke at Oscar Fairs or you spoke at Google Developer Group, you did this, you did that, you contributed to this Figma open source community and all those bits. If you have all those in mind, or if you're already showing that, oh, you are recognized beyond just your normal stuff, you're on a good track. I mean, I believe you stand a chance then. The last touch point I would love to speak of is, I mean, this might not necessarily apply to early people in their career, but if you can show that you've lead a team, or you've had that potential in leading people, or you had that potential in, like, oh, having to gather a group of people, you led them to achieving a particular goal, you stand a chance. And speaking of leadership again, doing mentorship, like if you're doing mentorship, talking to a group of people, guiding them, that's leadership. Definitely, you stand a chance in doing that as well. So those are like just major highlight point I would love to really point out there. So just to recap what I said, firstly, I believe that you should have at least 3 years and above experience before you even stand a chance. And when I mean experience, I mean professional experience in this case. The other bit is impact. How impactful have you done? How many impact have you made? What companies do you work? Did you create impact? Did they know that you were there? Because again, like I said, number was a very use case I used. Number did a redesign. I contributed to that as well. So it's something that shows. And the other one was leadership I spoke of. Have you led? If not necessary, it's not compulsory you have to be leading, but again, it's just give you a better chance. And last but not the least was recognition. How well do people know you within the digital tech space? Just for disclaimer, I'm just talking from a UK perspective in terms of UK global talent now, right? So I feel like if you can have that, or if you really know those aspects, right? Or if you have any of these checklists, definitely you stand a chance. So yeah.
Yeah, amazing job, Victor. First of all, thank you for the recap. That means I don't have to do it again. And thanks for putting out the disclaimer once again that this, for context, is for the UK Global Talent. But I'm sure my guests are curious. So let's move to financials, right? I mean, all of these nice things people are talking about. How much does it really cost? What's the financial implication, of the UK Global Talent or Tech Nation visa? So Deborah, I think I would want you to take this.
Okay. Sorry, one sec. Oh yeah, I'm just sure. I wanted to be sure that my mic was off. So yeah, financial implication concerning UK Global Talent. It's one of the cheapest way of relocating to the UK, if not the cheapest way of relocating to the UK. And this is compared to the student routes where you would have to have maybe funding, like I don't know what's that thing. There's an
For
amount of
fun?
money that you have to prove of
Scholarship.
fund.
Yeah.
Yes, proof of fund, your school fees, all of that is there in particularly for students, and even for other areas like skilled workers, that's also like another expense on its own. But particularly for UK Global Talent, there are majorly two stages. So in stage one, you so I'll take this back a little to explain that there are different global talent visas in the UK. But the one that applies to us, there's art and culture, that's where music people is. There's like architects also, they have their own. People that are researchers also, they have their own global talent visa. But the one that applies to us in tech is the one of digital technology. And what it means is a body has to endorse you. So the body that endorses it is what we call technician. So it's like UK wants you to come in, but they tell you to go and meet technician and ask technician that am I exceptional enough? Then if technician says yes, technician will now give you the endorsement. Then you now go back and meet UK and say, oh yeah, technician has endorsed me. Can I come in now? And then so that's basically how it works. So the stage one is you going to meet technician and telling technician that, hey, these are my evidences. What do you think about it? And in that process, I'm really sorry. I want to make sure that I pull the exact price as of today, because UK is currently
Yes, very important.
on a mental spree, and I can confess to you that prices change every day. I'm really sorry. I'll get this out in a couple of minutes. But maybe I go buy the other things, and then I will come back to them. I want to make sure that the price is correct because it's changed. All right. So right now, as of today, it costs £766 to apply. And this is the breakdown of the £766. 561 to apply for the endorsement. So it's 561 that you use to get the endorsement. Bear in mind, when you get
Which is
your
the stage
endorsement,
one, correct?
which is the stage one, that's 561 pounds. So you pay that first, you submit your documents, and then they approve it. If they do not approve it, there's an opportunity to appeal, but that money is not refundable in case you are rejected even after the appeal. So that's 561 pounds. And that's the major bit of it. Then when technician gives you the endorsement, it expires after 3 months. So it means that within 3 months, you must apply for your visa to actually move to the UK. So once you get that the endorsement, you go back to the UK body. The rest of the money is now your visa application. So that's £205 that you use to get your visa application through. Now, there's another payment that is subject to you. So there are two types of UK Global Talent Visa. Particularly, I'm talking about the tech one now. There's Promise and there's Talent. I'll explain what they are, how they are different. So I came in as Promise. Victor came in as Promise. Abi? Okay. So, so yeah, those are like there's Promise and there's Talent. So talent is that, oh, you're already over 5 years in your career. Means that you're a senior already. You're already a talent. And the criteria for those people is harder. So that one, you must have recognition within your country and outside of your country. Mostly founders, there are designers that have done it too, but mostly founders go this route. People that have raised tons of money go this route of talent. However, there is Promise. Promise is, I have less than 5 years of experience, but the way I'm looking at my destiny and my glory, I will make it in life. So it's just basically trying to tell them that I'm still a promising talent, but I've got like value to give within the 3 years that I've even worked. See what I've done. Imagine if you give me more resources, imagine what I'm going to do with it. So again, it's about storytelling. So if you are a talent, the government expects you to spend 3 years in the UK, then you get your ILR, citizenship, and all of that stuff. But if you are a Promise, they want you to stay 5 years before you get your. So both of them is good news. It's just like one, you have to stay longer to prove that thing that you said you're capable of, and the other one, you have to stay just 3 years, then you get your ILR, and I think a year after you get your citizenship. But for Promise, you stay 5 years, and after 5 years, you get your ILR and all of that. So that's the current stance. Now, if they give you 5 years Promise, 3 years talent, it is now your responsibility to say, oh, I want to pay. So there's a usual payment in the UK. They call it health surcharge. So it's like health insurance. It's compulsory for everybody. So if you want to come in for 1 year, so out of your 5 years, you can say, okay, it's just 1 year I want to come and do. There are people that be like, oh, I'm not sure UK is for me. Let me just come and test it for 1 year. Even though I have access to stay for 5 years, but let me test the waters for 1 year first. Or based on your financial capacity. It is now that that health insurance that's sort of expensive. Everybody pays this health insurance, I think, aside from students. Even if you come in on a skilled worker visa, you still pay this health insurance. But for students, they don't, I guess. Assume, please. But for global talent, you pay this health insurance. So if you apply for 1 year visa, health insurance is £1,035. So totally, you're not spending up to £2,000 to relocate for 1 year with global talent. When I got my 5 years, I did not pay for the entire 5 years health shutdown. I paid for 3 years. And that's not because I wanted to test the water for 3 years, but because of what my account can carry. So I paid for 3 years at the time, and after 3 years, extend again for the remaining 2 years that will make up the entire 5. So you can decide to break it down 1 year. But the sad news about breaking it down is at the time that I applied, the health surcharge was like maybe 600 and something. Now health surcharge is 1,035. So if you're pushing it forward, you're most likely going to pay more, which is penny wise, pound foolish. But yeah, that's the total amount that it costs to relocate to
Interesting.
UK Global Talent Visa.
I mean, you just casually dropped a master class. That was really insightful. I
People pay.
guess the numbers people in the house, I'm sure they are calculating already. By the time you do your exchange rates, call your aboki, you need to know what you need to have, right? But let's move a bit away from, this UK global talent. Say you have any form of visa now, you need to move outside the country. I mean, most likely you. So this particular question is in cases whereby your current employer, right, is a Nigerian company. So Telma, I would like you to speak on, salary negotiation, or negotiation for your, maybe not necessarily salary, but how do you handle that shift, right? How do you renegotiate either your role or compensation with a Nigerian employer when relocating abroad?
I feel like this question is a setup, but I'll be completely honest. So the first thing I would say before we get into the negotiation part is before you even as you start applying, before you are done applying, just start up just start looking for job. That's what I want to say. That's the first step. Be very strategic. Make sure your resume is up to date. Make sure your portfolio is up to date. Start interviewing with companies in that location that you're looking to go. Right before you even send in your application and say, I need, I've either gotten it or not. Because if you get a job at that stage, you can negotiate and tell them, oh, I'm not yet in the UK, but I have the potentials of getting the visa. So you can negotiate the terms. If you don't, you can continue with your current job. The second point here is before you even bring it up with people within your company, before you start talking about this, you need to have confirmed that you've either gotten it or maybe you need like a recommendation letter from someone before you apply. The reason is because you don't want to if you're a business, if I'm a business and someone comes to me, an employee comes to me and say they're looking to relocate, obviously the next thing that I'll start thinking is how to replace them. So you need to be very strategic to know when to bring this up with um, your stakeholders, your managers, etc. And then also put the possibility that you may or may not get it. That this is people have been getting rejection. At least that's what I intend to do. People have been getting rejections, so it's a very slopely field. But hopefully you get it. And then when you're negotiating, in terms of compensation, it might be difficult to negotiate compensation. But then I would suggest that you negotiate both compensation and the ability to work from home. So work from home is the key thing because most people I know that moved abroad with their Nigerian jobs, they were able to do that because they had the ability to work remotely. So if you have that ability, it's something that would allow you relocate, even though like you might not be earning enough money. But when you're talking to key stakeholders, you need to see if that is a possibility before you go to HR. If you have a good relationship with your manager, it's something to first talk to your manager about and see if the business will be open to either increasing your pay, um, either not either at first, if they would be willing to increase your pay a bit and allow you to work from home, or they just allow you work from home while you relocate. So that way you you have an option. Like if you get the work from home, you can move with your Nigerian job and manage with that until you get something. But the overall goal is just start applying until before you even get there. So if you get something by then, it's easier for you to just move away from your Nigerian job and join this new company than to start having the conversation. It's more difficult to have the conversation with your manager. And the reason I say this is business is optimized for themselves. So they look out for themselves, not necessarily you as the employee. So if you're telling me as a business owner that you're moving abroad and I should pay you higher because you're moving abroad, it doesn't technically make sense or sound better to me. I can find someone in Nigeria who could do the same thing and maybe with the same pay or even less still get. So look out for yourself. try to get a job before you move. I think that's what I would say. Habib, you're on mute.
Yeah. So we have just about less than 10 minutes. So I would just want to go back to one question or one topic I promised people will talk about. And that'll be our last question. We're taking questions from the guests and see if we're able to provide answers to those questions. So my last question is for you, Victor. So apart from UK global talent, right? Are there other talent visa options, designers can explore beyond, beyond the UK?
Yes, 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 yes. So,
Okay, please, Victor, if you can quickly answer that in like 2 minutes
okay,
so that we can. Sure, yeah.
fine. Uh, so first one is the US. I mean, US is the other place I was eyeing then. But yeah. So it's called EB1 visa, right? So it picks talents with extraordinary abilities. That's what it means. So it means that you must be highly accomplished professional. Like this is more, I would use the word thicker than global talent though, but because in terms is US, I think the only advantage for this is when you are given the EB1 visa, yeah, it's called 0 to 1 visa anyways. If you are it's the US visa. So when you are given this, you are given with a green card. So that green card allows you to live in the US for about 5 years and you get citizenship straight up. But compared to the UK Global Talent, you have to work that 5 years or do whatever before you get permanent residence. Green card in the US means permanent resident. So basically that's one. And the other bit is the one in the Canada. We have one in Portugal, which is the digital nomad visa. I mean, these are majorly for freelancers that just show that you are actually working and you're working remotely and you are earning a steady income or you are earning a particular amount of visa as well. So those are majorly the three from the top of my head I could just raise now. So yeah.
Right. Thank you, Victor. Esther, I just realized our moderator that volunteered is no longer on this call. So I'm hoping somebody else took. Okay. So I'm on the link now, and I have 4 questions here. I saw one in the chat section asking about the link to the UK Global Talent Visa, which is what I shared. Um, so these questions are we looking at? So there are 4 questions. Let me just quickly scan them and see which one of them is the most interesting. Oh, let me add time. Interesting. So this question says, what makes a designer a product designer? I think I'll leave this open to the panelists, whoever wants to jump on it. But let's do that quickly in about, say, 1 minute. What makes you a product designer? You know?
Oh, I think the person that asked the question directed it specifically to Deborah. I don't know if you say that.
Oh, really? Oh, that's true. My questions, Deborah, they've set you up. Oh. Please, I didn't even see that part. Person actually said
Okay.
my question to Deborah.
Okay. What makes a designer a product designer? To answer that quickly, it means that you have a good measure of user experience and a good measure of user interface and a good measure of the business at the same time. So you are working around those three triangles. That is what I know as a product designer. However, being in a new environment, there are a couple of things that have changed. There are people that are called UX designers, but then they still find themselves in those three triangles of UI, UX, and product. But if you ask me right now, based on my role as a product designer, what do I do? Is I involve myself in research. From that research, I'm able to translate the response of the research, collect it with what design system people have done, create the UI. However, I'm working on strict components and I'm not able to tweak as much. and then I translate that to what the business needs are. So that's what I do currently as a product designer. It's quite different from different on different perspective. On our design system team, we have product designers as well. What they go on is they do research on UI. How do people use interface? They use that to create components, and then we are their own users. So it works in different ways, and it works within the structure of your organization, and of course the UX maturity of your organization.
Thank you so much for that, Deborah. The next question says, or goes thus, what does it actually take to be a senior product designer? Thelma, I think I'll put that to you because I know you are a senior product designer. I can as well answer some part of it, but yeah, if you can quickly shoot.
Okay. A big part of being a senior is being able to take ownership, being able to lead initiatives, being able to um, be a master of your tool, for lack of a better word. You're not just focused heavily on UX and UI, you're also focused about tying that to the business metrics. You're able to propose initiatives that help move the needle within the organization. You understand of the industry where your company is working at. You understand your competitors. You're able to propose um, features, or you're able to propose ideas that would actually generate revenue for the business. So for me, that's how I see senior product designer. At least in my role as a senior product designer, that's what I do. I try to not just be told what to do, top down, bottom. I'm able to take ownership, propose features that we need to be able to be building within the organization. I'm able to, by myself, reach out to key stakeholders, get the data I need, get the information I need, pay attention to certain things, etc. Just be able to be more independent in how you work. Yeah, but still relying on the people that you need. Yeah.
All right, so to add to that, so I think my perspective is based on like years of experience. So as some of us already know, if you're applying for some jobs, they tell you whether they're looking for like an associate or senior associate, right? And these basically are like based on experience. So as an associate, you're probably within your entry level years, to like the first 2 years. And as a senior associate, over when you spent about almost about 5 years and beyond, you're considered a senior associate. So, but beyond the years of experience, ethically, we expect that as you grow through that career path, you should move from somebody who does only some specific task to somebody who is leading a set of people to, to now engage in, carrying out specific tasks. So it is basically a stage where you grow into a position where you must have developed leadership traits such that you can solve complex problems. And you are also not just seeing yourself as just another designer, but um, you're so engrossed into the growth and the impact of what exactly it is you're building. So for context, would it now be easy to say a freelance person is a senior product designer? I would say, well, if they've been able to do some of these things I said, then they also qualified to be called. I think it's basically based on responsibility and impacts. Yeah, thank you very much. So I would take the last question, and that's the question goes thus. I think in some way we've talked about it. I'm a beginner. How can I position myself to take advantage of future opportunities in the industry? Who wants to jump on that?
Yeah, I can just go into that, right?
Okay.
So like you said, I think we've kind of covered it a bit, but as a beginner, I think one thing you should be looking forward to is to build a portfolio for yourself. A portfolio that basically tells your story and show your work and impact you've made through the project you've actually are showing. So one thing for sure is your portfolio. Make sure it's real solid. And the other thing is networking. It might be, I mean, I get some people are introvert, extrovert and all. But in this tech adventure, you have to carry your market in your head. You have to let people know that, oh, this is you, this is what I do. Shout, blow your trumpets, even though you feel like you're doing rubbish, just make sure that people are seeing you and you are making progress. And I think that's how you can basically network really, because you get to post your stuff on social media, people give feedback or people thought. I mean, obviously the whole space now is all messed up because of people are just weird, really. But I'll just advise that don't let that weigh you down. Just drive towards pushing yourself out there, really. And I think pretty much that's what I would just say, at least for now.
All right. I would just add simply by saying beyond that as well, make sure you are well aware of the industry trends because I think I'm saying this because specifically I see the keyword taking advantage of future opportunities. Yeah, be aware of what are the industry trends. This also doesn't mean you have to learn everything. But I think you should have that mindset to be more of a T-shaped or even generalist designer, right? So what does this mean? So for context, there has been conversation about the emergence of AI for quite some time. While some persons or some set of people are still arguing, oh, are we going to lose our jobs or not? Guess what? There are people who have now built upon that and they most likely call themselves AI designers, or you are seeing people who are teaching other people how to use the right prompts, in your AI tools to get certain results. So, I mean, those are the kind of things you should be doing rather than, getting lost in all of those arguments. This thing is looking like it has come to stay. The earlier you embrace it, the better, right? Beyond AI, what I'm also trying to say also affects, every other thing. For example, Figma just released a set of new capabilities. Are you just going to be following those conversations on Twitter, or you'll be interested to see what you can actually try, with those things? So let's not just be listeners, basically. Let's take action. That's what I'm trying to say, essentially. I guess that will be our last question. I don't know if Esther, you have any closing remarks for us, and I think it's been an amazing 1 hour, 15 minutes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Abby. That was very insightful. Once again, we apologize for the technical glitch you had at the beginning of this session. But that was why we had like a sort of a prolonged time because it was meant to be 1 hour, 1 hour, 30 minutes max. But then I hope we were to some extent we were able to cover the objective while we are here. Although we could not take any question, all the questions, we noticed that some dropped questions and it was not all addressed. But then you can just join the TLC and then who knows, probably your questions will be the other batch, or let me say the another batch of questions I'll be asking other subsequent series that will be coming. I have dropped the link for the TLC community, which is a community where most especially mid-level professionals and senior level professionals, where they are catered to, where the network, where we get our questions sorted out. And then events like this are being rolled out of quite a number of questions and pinpoints that they asked. Please, we've also dropped a link for feedback session. Please do not leave this call without dropping your feedback about this session. How you rate this session? What are your key takeaways from this session and what do you advise we improve on? Kindly drop that in the feedback link, which I dropped, and I will be dropping again. And then we look forward to your feedback. Apologies, like I said earlier, we might not be able to take all the questions, but do well. That is why we dropped the link. We are going to make an archive of it, and then we know subsequent sessions we would address this session going forward. Thank you so much, Thelma. Thank you so much, Deborah and Victor, for making this session. YouTube, you can just replay on our YouTube channel.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Yeah, I mean, this was amazing. Nice chatting with you all. Bye, guys.
Bye.